riding along in my automobile, my baby beside me at the wheel. I stole a kiss at the turn of a mile, my curiosity running wild, cruising and playing the radio with no particular place to go.
I got my license on my birthday because I couldn't wait one more day.
The morning of my birthday.
The day of my birthday, which is August 30th.
It was just like a freedom.
The ultimate freedom.
I wanted my license very badly, very badly.
I'm just so tired of taking the Metro bus everywhere I have to go.
It's a huge help when they start driving on their own.
I like to go fast.
It makes me very nervous.
We bought him a real slow car.
They think they know everything.
I think I'm a safe driver.
They just want to have fun. It's natural. They're kids.
Teenagers in the United States get their licenses earlier than in most other countries, and they have easier access to cars once they're licensed. In many families, giving the car keys to a newly licensed driver means not only freedom for the teenager, but also relief for the parents from seemingly endless chauffeuring duties. But it comes with a potentially high price.
Parents are always keen for their teens to get driving licenses because it relieves them of the burden of having to drive them around everywhere.
When they get their license and they can drive to practice and drive home, for me, it was great.
But they also have a lot of concern about those beginning years. They know teen crash rates are high. They don't want their teen to be one of the statistics.
There's something about a young driver just taking off without you in the car that's very frightening as a parent.
So they also are looking for ways to reduce those risks. Teen drivers have higher crash rates per mile driven than any other age group. But when you look particularly at 16-year-olds, you find that their crash rates are the highest of all, particularly at night, and driving with other teen passengers in the car.
16-year-olds have almost 3 times the crash risk of older teenagers, 18 to 19-year-olds, almost 10 times the crash risk of middle-aged drivers. So it's really 16-year-olds, the youngest drivers, who are most in need of attention. Young people, and particularly 16-year-olds, are more likely to speed.
It's just the thrill of it, just going fast.
They're more likely to do dangerous passing.
I would not get in the car with my boyfriend because he's crazy.
And they're more likely to do a variety of other risky driving behaviors that get them into trouble on the roads.
I know a friend who wrecked his car the day he got his license after having it for 8 hours.
The inexperience shows up in really an inability to recognize dangerous situations as they begin to develop. For example, they often don't anticipate what other motorists may do. And because of their inexperience, they're less likely to take appropriate actions in responding to these situations.
I did 2 car accidents within a 9-hour period. I rear-ended somebody.
I hit a telephone pole with my truck. But they're confident in their own abilities. They're inexperienced, but confident.
I'm such a good driver.
I think I drive real well.
I'm a good driver.
So you have several things going on. A risky driving style, inability to recognize and respond to dangerous situations, and overconfidence in their abilities. When you put all this together, you've got a pretty lethal combination.
She just loved people. She made friends easy, and she had a lot of friends. Brenda was a good student. She loved to learn. She was really looking forward to going to college. And I never will forget when she had been watching the mail close for her acceptance letter to see if she got into JMU. And she went to the mailbox that day and she came on back. She come through that door and she said, "Yes, yes, yes." And she opened up the envelope, and she looked and she read it. I can see her now. She just, "Yes, yes, yes," she said. It was a beautiful January day. The sky was so pretty and blue and the sun was bright. And it was just a lovely day. And that particular day, she didn't have to be to school till 11 o'clock. She sit there and she ate a bowl of cereal and she changed clothes 3 times before she left. When she got in the truck, she put a seatbelt on. When she sit in a vehicle, if she was going to drive or if she was riding, she always put a seatbelt on. And anyway, that morning the police scanner was on, and I just, in the back of my mind, I heard them say that there had been a bad accident on Route 130. And I get on down there, and there's a fireman in the road, directing traffic, and I can see a truck, and I could see the bumper, and I saw the sticker. And I knew it was our truck. So I pulled over to the side of the road, and I asked that fireman, I said, the little girl driving that truck, I said, is she hurt bad? He said, are you kin to her? I said, yes, I'm her mother. And by that time, 2 rescue squad workers, one got one side of me and one got on the other side. And I said, the little girl driving that truck, I said, is she hurt bad? And the woman said, yes, ma'am. I said, is she dead? She said, yes, ma'am.
Brandy was an inexperienced driver who died in a high-speed crash just 1 month after getting her license. Inexperience contributes to many crashes involving beginners. For 16-year-olds, the first few months of driving is when the risk is highest. But inexperience is only part of the problem, because so many crashes with young drivers involve their attitudes, not their skills.
She got her license on her 16th birthday. She got her car on her 16th birthday. She had waited for it. We had waited for it. We were just as anxious for her to have her license as she was to have her license. She was probably the kind of child that every parent would hope to have. She took everything life had to offer and made the most of it. She had danced for almost 15 years. She had been a competitor in gymnastics, percussionist in the band, and she loved everything she did, and she could never get enough. Unfortunately, Shannon was 16. She was a teenager behind the wheel. She was going to a slumber party that night, and Shannon had a passenger in the car, and her friend had passed her, and probably a combination of, let me see what my little 4-cylinder car can do, Rebecca saying, come on, Shannon, pass Heidi. And as Shannon tried to pass Heidi, Heidi moved over so Shannon couldn't get by her. Shannon lost control of the car, and she was hooked up to life support for 24 hours, but she got caught up in the spirit of the moment, a little bit of peer pressure, a lot of being a teenager and thinking you're invincible. It won't happen to me.
Shannon's crash was like many other serious ones involving teenagers. It was at night, and it involved speeding and thrill-seeking. Licensing restrictions on young beginning drivers help prevent some of these crashes, and so can restrictions imposed by parents.
The whole idea of graduated licensing is to phase young people into full driving privileges over time, but to limit their exposure to higher risk driving when they're first licensed.
There are a few key elements of good graduated licensing programs. The first stage should involve a long period of supervised driving so that teens get a lot of driving under a lot of different conditions. Driving at night, driving during the day, driving on different roads.
After you go through this extended learner phase and get your initial driver's license, there should be some restrictions on the highest risk types of driving. Late at night and with other teenage passengers in the car, this phase should last at least 6 months.
These kinds of legal restrictions, reinforced by parents, let young beginners be mobile and get driving experience, but they do so under conditions of controlled risk.
The restrictions don't need to last forever, but they should come into play during the months of highest vulnerability. If beginners get through this period without incurring crashes or violations, then they get full privileged driver's licenses. Protecting young people while they're learning to drive is really the essence of these restrictions.
Graduated licensing programs around the country have reduced crashes of 16-year-olds up to 25%. But in most states, the restrictions imposed by the laws are still weak. For example, many nighttime crashes of young drivers happen between 9 p.m. and midnight, but the driving restrictions in most states begin at midnight or 1 a.m. And most states don't restrict teen passengers at all, even though the risk of a crash goes up with even one passenger in the car. And with multiple teen passengers, the risk is 3 to 5 times greater than when a teenager drives alone.
Parents really need to not only enforce the rules and restrictions that are in place, but to supplement them with rules and restrictions of their own.
And I think it's really important for us as parents really to establish rules with or without the state doing it. And they need to know that we aren't alone. You know, we talk to other parents.
I let him know that it is a privilege, not a right, for him to drive, and he is to abide by not only the state rules, but my rules too.
Limiting high-risk driving is one very important thing they can do. Parents should take an active role in helping teens learn how to drive, making sure they get plenty of supervised driving. Letting them drive unsupervised late at night is a bad idea. So is driving around with groups of teenagers at any time of the day. Remember, the highest risk for young drivers is after 9 o'clock at night, with other teens in the car. This is when inexperience and immaturity are most likely to lead to dangerous behavior.
Gabriel always had a smile on his face, and so did everybody around him. The very best of kids. Utterly kept the rules. Everybody loved him. The driver was driving too fast. And there's one of Gabriel's favorite songs on the radio. And so it's party time, and she was in the back seat. And he was in the front seat, dancing with her. He was up dancing with her. And the driver might well have been distracted by that. Gabriel was not wearing a seatbelt. He always wore a seatbelt. He used to tell me to wear a seatbelt. It's late at night, multiple teenagers, radio going on, and not much experience in driving. And here he was in a moment of carelessness. An unguarded moment of carelessness, when he was dancing in a car instead of looking straight ahead with a seatbelt on. He was dancing with the girl in the back seat. And the driver was carried away also with the party that was going on in his car, is what happened to 16-year-olds. And the driver was not seriously hurt physically. The little girl was not seriously hurt physically. Gabriel's not here anymore.
Gabriel wasn't even driving. He was a passenger, having fun in the car with other teenagers. And he wasn't wearing his seatbelt. Belt use by teenagers is lower than for adults, and for teen passengers, it's particularly low. This is why parents should insist on belt use all the time for everyone in the car. Other restrictions are important too. Parents should insist on no alcohol, and make sure teenagers stay out of unsafe vehicles, especially small cars, high-performance models, and SUVs because they're less stable than cars and prone to rolling over. Teenagers often don't perceive they're at risk, and they think they're invincible.
There's still a party that's like, it's not going to be me, so why should I worry about it?
It happens to other people, never to me.
Everyone has that attitude that it's not going to happen to me, because you just don't think it's going to.
Attitudes like this, combined with immaturity and peer pressure, can lead any teenager to drive irresponsibly. Their driving behavior is likely to be far different from when parents are in the car.
If I'm in the car with my mom, I'll drive the speed limit and make sure I turn on all my blinkers and everything. But if you're in a car with your friends on a Friday night, some of those things just kind of go out the window a little bit.
Graduated licensing programs are an important step toward reducing the risks for beginning drivers. But parents also have to help keep their teens safe during the very dangerous first year of driving. We know what works: restrictions on driving after 9 or 10 at night, and not allowing multiple teenage passengers. These restrictions don't keep teens from getting to after-school activities or to work, but they do cut down on some of the most dangerous kinds of recreational driving.
I do anticipate when Tori starts to drive that I will be challenged to let him take friends. places. But I also anticipate that he's going to learn how to do that. So yeah, there is a little bit of pressure on the parents, but that's our job. Our job is to not be our kids' best friends. Our job is to make certain that our kids are safe.
I got a speeding ticket, I think like a month and a half after I got my license. All my friends were in the car. The music was blasting. No one was paying attention.
I don't see stop signs ever. Curbs. People forget they're there.
Yes.
And run over them. Just like they'll take sharp turns and be like, ooh.
I mean, I almost turned down a one-way street, but that's okay. See, you learn these things as you go along. It's not that bad.
You just keep going, but you never really get over it. You never really, it's no way in the world you can get over losing somebody, especially a child.